Hello, everyone, and welcome to Ring Ready Live, the home of the owner handler, brought to you by Showsite Magazine. I am Dan Sayers with Showsite, here for a very special episode of Ring Ready Live with the one and only Lee Whittier, the dog show mentor. Lee, hello, and I should say happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary to you, yes, and to everyone who's followed us all this time.
Yes, we thank you for joining us for this very special show. And as always, please, in the comments section, let us know who you are, where you're from. Tell us your breed, as always. And this week, we would like you to tell us which episodes from the past year have been the most memorable for you and which have maybe helped you in your journey with your dog and your experience as an owner handler. Lee, we've been talking about the owner handler for a year, and I know that you and I, as we were reviewing the past year's shows, we were pretty impressed that we managed to cover so much in in just 30 minutes each week. But we hope that all of you feel the same and that you will share with us those shows that have really helped you. And Lee, you look lovely, by the way. I want to share with everyone that most weeks, well, every week, Lee and I do not talk about what we're going to wear, but as often as not, we tend to color coordinate, and we're always pleasantly surprised when we do. And so today was no exception. Lee shows up in black with a beautiful necklace. I'm wearing black as well, but I realized when I saw Lee that I had to up the game. So I decided that I would wear my tuxedo for everyone today. So it feels good to dress up and it feels really good to celebrate
It does.
52 shows of Ring Ready Live. So Lee, what are you thinking? You are busy. What is going on with you, and what are you looking forward to in the next? Well, it's going to be longer than 30 minutes, but yeah, tell us what's going on with you.
Well, yeah, tonight is the third part in a three-part series of my Blue Ribbon Blueprint presentation, and we're going to talk about the judge, and that's exciting. And tomorrow night I have a masterclass for my group where we're talking about judges and what AKC expects of them in terms of um, how they judge in procedure, but also what they do outside of the ring. So it's called Policies and Procedures. So we're going to talk about that tomorrow night with the membership.
Wow, we've got 52 topics that we've covered here, just
I
30
know.
minutes. But as a member of Dog Show Mentor, you're able to go beyond. You're able to dig deep, as you like to say. You're able to really explore some of the subjects that we just sort of address very almost casually here each week.
Yeah, this is really an introduction to a lot of the topics that Dog Show Mentor covers. And I have over 200 topics. So when I look at these 50, um, I have to say, Dan, I was pretty impressed to go back and review all the episodes and what we talked about and um, how we were able to come up with things for our Facebook group right
Indeed.
here on Ring Ready Live and Dog Show Mentor. So thank you. It's thank you to everyone who's made this happen, including Showsite Magazine and our producer Alex, and all of you for giving me ideas when I'm judging about some things that I want to talk about or address, and things that you say here, things that happen in my private group or that happen in the Dog Show Mentor Owner Handlers Facebook group, which is an
Mm.
open group. All you have to do is answer a couple questions, and you'll be approved for membership. And so it's pretty exciting to be here again. And I just want to dive in and say, um, Carrie, thank you for being here yet again, and thank you for your congratulations. Shanna, the same. Um, Irka, thank you very much. So, what stood out for you? What sparkled for you in the last year, in the last 51 episodes? What do you remember? What helped you? And, I get people come up to me when I'm judging at shows, and sometimes when I'm exhibiting, and they say, and they'll usually be really quiet about it, and they'll say, "Thank you for your Facebook lives. They've really helped me a lot." And I think, "Oh, well, that's good." That that's what we want. That's why we're here.
Why we're
And
here.
so, yes, do come up and tell Dan and I, yeah, this has been helpful. And particularly if you have something particular that's helpful,
Mm.
we want to know about that because we can repeat it, we can expand on it. And of course, you're always welcome to become a member of Doug's Mentor and expand on it exponentially.
Don't be shy, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, we are owner handlers just as you are. We experience the same things that you do. And if you're going through something or if you have a question, we've gone through it as well. And if we haven't, and by we, I mean all of us, if we haven't, we're likely to. And this community has been created almost organically, Lee, in a way that we're all learning from one another. We have the advantage of having you as the dog show mentor each week. But I want to tell everyone that your comments and your suggestions, your participation is really something that Lee and I are so grateful for because this is a community where we are here for one another. And I think the fact that you are all here with us after 1 year of programming just proves how much you are invested not only in you and your dog but in the community of owner handlers and in Ring Ready Live, and many of you are members of Dog Show Mentor. There's so many levels of participation that are possible, and I think I've said this before, but if you would have told me years ago that I would be hosting a show, Lee Whittier, and that we would be able to speak live with other people who are passionate about showing their own dogs, I wouldn't have thought it possible. And yet here we are. And Lee, you and I were speaking a little bit about how this medium allows us to have conversations, but behind the scenes, we're doing a lot of preparation. You, of course, are engaging with your members, and you and I are hearing from viewers of Ring Ready Live. It's just this continual conversation that happens, and it's every Wednesday that we get to sort of share it live, which is the icing on the cake.
Well, Dan, you know, we didn't ever come to an agreement on this, but I'm gonna go ahead and tell people how it was that we ended up doing this. And
Yes,
so, may I?
yes, it's a good story, folks.
So, um, I had a conversation with the editor it and owner of Show State Magazine, and we talked about having the magazine within the magazine and the extra cover stock and how exciting that would be. And, I would be writing for Showsite and be the sort of the lead mentor for owner handlers in that section. And he said to me, "Well, I'm going to have you be working with Dan." And he didn't say Dan who, but he just said, "I'm going to have you working with Dan and I'll connect you to." So he connected us. And when we started working together, Dan said to me, "You may not realize this, but I have a picture of us together 10
Mm,
years ago at Montgomery County." Of course, I haven't seen this picture yet, but he keeps telling me he has it.
it does exist, Lee, I promise.
It does exist. I want to see this picture.
Okay.
So ever since and I said to him, "Well, let's just do some Facebook lives and we'll just hop on." And that first article that I wrote was 10 sections on, who is Lee Whittier, right? And so I decided, well, why don't we go on? We'll have 10 things, and each time we'll talk about one of those questions that you asked me, just, in 3 or 4 minutes. Well, suddenly, with the help of our producer, Alex, it suddenly turned into working on this Restream platform and doing a 30-minute segment. And it's really been fun for us. So, but it wouldn't be fun without you. So, thank you.
Well, thank you for sharing that story with everyone, Lee. And Lee, I want to concur that it would not be nearly as much fun without everybody who has become part of our community. And you mentioned Alex, our producer, and I had only just recently begun communicating with Alex directly when you and I began communicating. And as you and I spoke, I realized, well, wait a minute. I know exactly who can make things happen. And,
Oh.
you know, full- and full disclosure here, everyone, I had no idea what Facebook Live was. Zero. I had no idea what YouTube was. Zero. That was a year ago. And look at me now. And I listen, I only mention that because what I've come to learn, Lee, is that when you work to achieve small goals, incremental goals, whatever they may be, all of a sudden you find that you are prepared when an opportunity comes knocking. And I know that that's true as an exhibitor as well, that everything that we have been discussing in getting ourselves and our owner handled dogs prepared to win, if we do all of those little things, if we go back and watch 52 episodes of Ring Ready Live, boy, when that win is knocking on your door, you're going to be ready. And right now, you may think it's never going to happen, or that you will never be ready, or that you just are not good enough. Well, you are. You will be ready. Lee Whittier and Ring Ready Live, the Dog Show Mentor Program is here to help you get ready. And this show has proven to me that we have no idea where we can be a year from now,
Right.
none whatsoever. And yet here we are. And I just want to give a shout out to some of the folks who have joined us today, if I may, Lee. Carrie, you
Oh,
mentioned. Hi, Gail. Hello. Thank you for joining us on our anniversary show. Liz is here. Deb is here. Kathleen, hello and welcome. Julie is here, and she's sharing what one of her favorite episodes, or her most favorite episode. We'll be talking about becoming a beautiful backdrop a little later on in the show. Ray is here. Ray, thank you for your participation as always. And Shauna is here. Irka, you mentioned. Sandy, Lynn, Callie, Simone, Michael is here. Rageshwar is here. Karen, Maggie, Julie. We cannot thank you enough for joining us today and every Wednesday for this show. Lee, you said the word fun. And, I think what I've learned among so many things in the 52 episodes is that having fun is a big part of life. It makes the hard times bearable some days, but it's not everything. Having fun, you know, takes
yes,
a
it is.
It can be. It definitely can be.
Well, that's what after we list our core values at the end, it's and make sure you have fun with your dog and your dog has fun with you. I
Uh,
mean, right? And winning is fun.
yeah, winning is great fun, especially when you have your dog show buddies to celebrate the win with. If you can come back here the following Wednesday and share it with Lee and I, that's a lot of fun. We are always happy to hear from you when you've had a great weekend, when you finally won that major, when you finally finished that owner handled dog of yours. And we want to encourage you to reach out to us here when we are live through the comments section. And also, Lee, you share every week the many ways that everyone can get in touch with you. And maybe now might be a good time to just remind everyone, how they can do that. And I
Yeah. Well, the best way is to go to the Dog Show Mentor Owner Handlers Facebook group, become a member, and post there and tag me. And that's all you have to do. And
very,
and I'll answer. Um, I, I want to get started on talking about some of the things that we've done this year. So can we
well,
get
let's
going, Dan?
let's get
Right?
the show on the road. And our very first show after our initial show was a topic that we all understand very well if you've been watching, and that is mentoring. Lee, right out of the gate, after we've introduced ourselves in the first episode, you had the stage and you were telling everyone what it means to be a dog show mentor and how mentoring is such a part of the dog sport. I feel that with that
It
first
is.
episode, you got us going right out of the gate.
Well, it is, and it continues to be. And I just want to tell everybody, you are a mentor for someone.
Mm,
Mostly in dogs, because we're talking about dogs here, but I know some of you are. I know some of you personally, and I know that you're mentors to other people in some way, shape, or form, whether it's politically, sometimes it's in 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 trimming dogs, right? Uh, Sometimes it's those hard-coated dogs that need trimming, where that's really you. Every time you tell somebody one little thing, that's a mentoring moment. That's a mentoring moment. So don't hesitate to say to somebody, oh, you know what, if you pull the hair like this, then this happens. Or, oh, you know what, there's a product that might help you with a coat. Or someone said to me the other day, I was asking her a question about coat, and she gave me a tip. It was a mentoring moment. So keep that pebble in the pond going. When you know something and you know somebody else doesn't have that information, don't hesitate to have that mentoring moment. It's really powerful and exciting and rewarding. Okay, what else have we done, Dan?
well, episode number 5 was asking the question, can the owner handler beat the pros? That that remains one of our most viewed shows, and we know that that's a subject that is of importance to many of you. Lee, remind us of some of the things that we discussed.
Well, Dan, the answer is a resounding yes. There's no question about it. The question is, how much are you willing to put into
Mm,
presenting your dog and conditioning your dog and making sure everything is as perfect as it can be? Now, you do that and you have the dog, no question. In fact, you're going to get more respect from everyone around you because they know how hard it is to
mm,
go to work all week and come home at night and trim your dog and do what needs to be done, condition your dog, go for a run with the dog, put the dog on the treadmill, whatever it is. So, yeah, the question isn't, can the owner handlers beat the pros? The question is, are the owner handlers willing to put in the time and energy it takes to do that?
indeed, we should all be asking ourselves if we are able and willing to put in the time and effort. Episode number 7, Lee, was one that really influenced me personally, and that was titled "Know Your Breed Standard." And that's something that we've talked about since. But remind everyone of the significance of knowing our breed standard.
Well, I will. I have in the Dog Mentor program, I have an additional system called Spotlight on Your Breed. And it's where the member dives into their standard yet once again, but with me at their elbow. And we talk about the standard and what it means and what everything means. And then um, they do I'll just call it a project for shorter terms. And one person has been in her breed for 12 years, and uh, she was just asked to mentor a judge. And so she had just done her spotlight, and she sent me a little private message saying, "Thank you so much for um, doing the spotlight and helping me really delve into the standard. I feel so much more prepared to talk to this judge today and introduce her
Mm,
to our breed and the verbiage that I want to use." And I was like, that's what it's for. And we can all learn. And I get that kind of feedback from people who have been in their breed way longer than 12 years as well, which is really sort of interesting.
very interesting.
So, yeah,
Shauna tells us that Know Your Breed Standard was her favorite episode as well. So thank you,
yeah,
Shauna.
yeah.
Another favorite episode was the following week, week 8, and that was the human canine bond. And this is where I really began to understand the absolute need to become my dog's support. And that, after 40 years in this sport, was really it just seems so fresh and new, and I was hearing it for the first time.
So, so, so say more about that, Dan, because I think that coming from you would be more powerful.
I think what happens after 4 decades is, and I'm not too proud to admit this, but after a while, you think you know things. You think a dog is a dog, and you just hold on to the lead, and you just go in. You've done it before. But no, every dog is different, just like you and I are different. And you really made me realize that what I had lost and what was no longer the number one priority was to be my dog's support
Hmm.
at home, on the way to the show, into the building, at the setup, on the way to the ring, in the ring, and hopefully on the photographer's stand as well. But my job is to make sure that my dog understands that I've got her back, that I'm in control. It's all going to be great, and we're going to have fun together all day. That was, yeah, I think I knew that early on. And like everything in life, you sort of take things for granted. But that episode really reminded me of my job and
Yeah.
my responsibility.
And if I may, your number one job is to support your dog's experience in the ring and at the show. But yeah, your number one job is to support your dog's experience.
You heard it here from the Dog Show Mentor. And if you like more, you know how to get in touch
That's
with
right.
me. He will really prime you and get you to where you will unquestionably become your dog's support. A few weeks later, in episode 14, we had the price of a free stack, Lee. And this was another episode that was really strongly commented on by our viewers. The free stack has become a very big part of the dog show. And we talked about its being breed specific in many cases, going back to our breed standards. But what would you like to share on the price of a free stack? Anything you'd like to add?
Well, I think that what you said is the heart of it, is the meat of it, that your breed standard informs your entire presentation. And so without understanding why the dog is presented as it is. Now, I was recently reading an older book. It was George Austin's book, The Winning Edge. And in it, he was talking about how the collie used to be presented hard stacked, but that one very prominent handler, whose name he did not use, had a dog that didn't want to show. And he was like at wit's end. And the dog that wouldn't show, somebody walked by and the dog just perked up and stood there on its own, looking gorgeous. So he ran after the guy and found out what the guy had in his hand, and he had moose meat. So the handler got moose meat and just stood there with the moose meat, and that's how collies became a free stacking breed. I don't know if it's true, but that's what he said.
It is, it's a great story, and I appreciate you mentioning the Winning Edge and George Alston. He has been a mentor to many, as you know, through
Yes,
the
many,
years.
and one of my favorite books.
His seminar was one not to be missed. I attended several, as I'm sure many of our viewers did. Yeah, it's very interesting. That story reminds me of the old school exhibitors, judges. You know, they understood, they understand still why things are done the way they are done with certain breeds. And you know, we live in this instant information age where we can Google anything and we think we know
Right.
answers, right? No, we know how to read. But you know, when you attend a seminar, when you become a member of Dog Show Mentor, you're now participating and you are engaging with someone who has the connections and understands the reasons why. And Lee, you know, I've learned, and I will put you in a similar category as George, because I've been a student of both of yours, and I can definitely
Wow.
say
That's quite an honor.
that I have been, yeah, strongly influenced by you both. So moving on, episode number 20 was the top 3 mistakes that owner handlers make. And that word mistake is really interesting because Lee, you're a judge and your job is to evaluate the dogs in front of you according to their breed standard. But boy, oh boy, do we as the exhibitors make mistakes. And it's no fault of the dogs, and it's certainly no fault of the judge. But you enlightened us into some of the things that we all have a tendency to do.
We all do. I mean, and really our mistakes are just a stepping stone or a ladder to doing things really well, to achieving that perfection on those presentations. So if you make a mistake, use it to your best advantage. And sometimes you just pivot. I mean, look,
Mhm.
I was at my show last fall, and so I wasn't judging, I wasn't exhibiting, I was there as a show chairman. It was group time, and I watched one of the top handlers in the country. Um, she made a little blunder in the group, but she was so fast to correct it and make it seem like it wasn't a mistake at all.
Yeah.
And I love watching these handlers who are so adept that they can pivot that quickly, just
Mhm.
instantly. So yeah, pretty interesting.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that story. And I want to encourage everyone, if next time you're in the ring and you find yourself making a mistake, pivot, pivot, pivot. Think of
Yeah,
what,
don't apologize.
no,
Don't apologize unless you hit the judge, right?
don't do that.
Or if your dog hits the judge, then okay, maybe apologize, but otherwise pivot.
Yes. I love
I did have that happen once. I was awarding a dog, and um, I was handing the rosette to the exhibitor, and the dog thought that I had something for him, and he
Mhm.
leaped right on my chest and knocked the wind out of me.
Oh boy. Don't do that, folks.
Don't do
Yeah.
that. Yeah, don't do that.
Yes.
It was a big dog.
I'm sure. And yes, if that mistake occurs, yes, please, by
You
all
can
means.
apologize.
Oh, the following week, we had How to Build Your Dog Show Playbook. This was a very interesting episode where we really began to understand our job as owner handler in the way that any other sporting team or a coach uh, organizes his or her team. Having a playbook was something that maybe many of our viewers hadn't really thought, but that's a dog show mentorism, if I may. And I just loved learning that a playbook was something that I could utilize as an owner handler. And hopefully, some of our viewers have done the same. 2 weeks later, we were back to you as the judge. We were unpacking the judge's exam. This was a really important episode where we really got to stand in your shoes, Lee, as a judge, and really begin to understand what it's like from the vantage point of the judge.
Well, yeah, and I think the most important thing is that we rely on the breed standard. It's not a mystery. We rely on the breed standard to figure out what we want to do on the exam and how we're going to evaluate the dogs. It's as simple as that.
It is. And the following week, we talked about how to become a beautiful backdrop. This was a very well listened to episode. It was one of our most viewed as well. That was all Lee, becoming a beautiful backdrop. We talked about in depth. Lee, if I remember correctly, we sort of got sidetracked into conversations about footwear and fashion. And and
I think our audience got
our,
sidetracked.
our audience did. And Lee, you managed to keep us all on track, realizing that a beautiful backdrop, we weren't talking about our outfits, our footwear. Not, we weren't even talking about bejeweled leads. We were talking about something completely different. And we hope that all of you will go back and watch episode 24 again. And yeah, there may be some things that you've missed, or maybe you haven't seen it at all. And while I'm mentioning going back to watch previous episodes, Alex, our producer, has shared a link in the comments section. You can find these on YouTube, on Facebook, and of course at showsitemagazine.com. All 52 episodes are there. You can find all of the episodes that we're talking about here today, but all 52 are there. That's where future episodes will be found as well. And another episode, Lee, that was a very popular episode was about foot timing. And is foot timing everything? You helped us to really understand once again that this is breed specific. Not all
Yes.
dogs are supposed to move the same, despite the fact that we're all racing our bulldogs around the ring. And I don't mean to call out that breed, but it's an obvious example of a breed that
Or
should never be.
Pekingese, right? Or
Yes, yes.
Pekingese.
And, I would encourage everyone, when you're at an all breed show, watch some of these breeds and really see that the foot timing on each of those breeds is so breed specific. Those two breeds are obvious examples, but Lee, your breed and mine move differently for a number of
I
reasons.
hope so.
So, so foot timing was something that we talked about in detail, and encourage you to go back and watch episode 27. Episode 28 was one of my personal favorites. It was the real cost of showing your own dog. Lee, we broke it down based on some information provided to all of us by AKC, where they let us know where we're spending our dollars each weekend at the show. And there was some surprising surprises for me when I realized how much I was spending on, on toys and on products from the vendors. I didn't realize how much we're all spending. Thankfully for the vendors, but also understanding, once we understand where we're spending our money, we can budget in specific ways that will help us achieve our goals. So if I'm spending money on toys, but I could be spending it as a member of Dog Show
Dog show
Mentor,
mentor.
you know, I realized that, okay, having all of that information allows me to reallocate my income and where my expenditures are going to go. So that is episode 28. If you really are trying to achieve a goal and you want to budget accordingly, episode 28 is the show for you.
So I just want to say here that I hear a lot of people say, "Oh, I don't want to know how much I spend on my dogs,"
Mm,
but knowledge is power, and people who track are more successful than people who don't. So if you're concerned about how much you're spending and you think you're going to have a second mortgage on your house to pay off your credit cards, then think again about where you want to be strategic. And of course, I can help you with that too. So start tracking and you'll be more successful. Okay. What's the
Great.
next one, Dan?
Are you a sore loser? That was the
Ooh.
episode 29. That was another one that resonated with our viewers.
Remind me about that one.
Well, we all lose at dog shows. We lose more often than we win. That goes for the pros as well as for the owner handlers. We all experience losing. The question is, wh- how do we respond and where do we go from that loss? To me, it sort of equates to the making mistakes. We all make mistakes and we all lose. But how do we respond to those mistakes that we make? Do we pivot? And how do we prevent ourselves from becoming sore losers? And basically, I what we talked about was making excuses, and that
Well,
that made us sore.
Dan, again, it's powerful information to have. So if you're not winning, you need to figure out what you could do differently. And so in Dog Show Mentor, we have Monday morning mentoring moments and brags, as a friend of mine says, Manic Monday, but where we reflect on our wins and how what we think of our wins and what we did differently to get those wins, and we also reflect on our losses and how we could turn those losses into wins. What could we have done differently? So
Another benefit to becoming a member of Dog Show
I
Mentor.
know they're endless, aren't they?
They
When I
are,
think about it.
they are indeed.
Maybe I need to start tracking that.
I think you might find you've got a lot of useful information if you do that, Lee. Episode number 30 was asking the question, does your dog have a growth mindset? This was, again, revelatory for me, thinking that the dog that I am um, here to support may or may not have a growth mindset, and am I cultivating a growth mindset? That was something from your experience in uh,
Right.
I want to say sports psychology is really helped me to understand, and I'm sure it did with a lot of our viewers as well. uh, Growth mindset, briefly, Lee, what does that mean if my dog has one or doesn't? It can.
Well, is your dog happy to be challenged by different things? Does he run up to something strange that made a noise or flapped and sniff it and maybe pee on it? Or does he run away and look scared? And or is he willing to go back to it again? Is he responsive to you?
Mm,
Is does he trust you implicitly so that he knows that when you're supporting him in the ring, that he could do whatever you ask and he is going to be successful. And in his eyes, that's what he wants most in life, is to please you. And for me, growth mindset is when Dan says, would you like to write on this top? I don't think you would like to write on this topic. And I'm like, well, actually, when you put it like that, I'll show you.
yeah. Lee Whittier definitely has a growth mindset, and what you just shared about our dogs, I have nothing to add to that. If we all just practice being our dog's support, our dogs will have a growth mindset. There's no question about that. The next week, Lee, we talked about to bait or not to bait. Like the free stack, this was an episode where everybody seemed to have an opinion. Like the free stack, bait is so commonplace in every ring, it seems,
Well,
but
this
it's
is my
often misleading.
favorite topic. You know that, right? My favorite topic is don't drop bait in the ring.
Never.
And if you drop it, pick it up. Even if it's a little piece, pick it up because you're being considerate of your fellow exhibitors. And that's essential in any sport.
Yes,
Be
and I was
courteous and respectful of other people who are exhibiting.
including the judge who's standing on her feet all weekend long, hoping to see the best not only of your dog, but of all of the dogs. And if they are all nose diving on the mats because we did not pick up our bait, yeah, it's just going to make it very difficult on everyone. So, to bait or not to bait, that's one question. Pick up your bait? Yes, by all means. You must pick up your bait. I love that. Episode 34, Lee, we were talking about one of my favorite subjects, and that is breed hallmarks.
I
And
know, I'm all over that.
yes, and we love to talk about it here at Ring Ready Live. Every breed has its hallmarks, and in some breed standards, they are called out as such. And in others, you got to do a little work. You've got to dig a little deeper to understand. But breed hallmarks are what really identify our breeds and make them uniquely their own, and the breeds that we all fall in love with and that we want to continue to exhibit and preserve. Breed hallmarks. It's exciting as a judge, no doubt, when any dog comes into your ring and it is just dripping in the hallmarks of that breed. I imagine that that's got to be a thrill to
Yes.
experience that. And so if I know the hallmarks of my breed, I, as an exhibitor, can show off those hallmarks to you as a judge. And I may get an edge, or my dog may get an edge that way. So, everyone, if you've heard nothing today, go back and reread your breed standard and know your breed's hallmarks. Lee, the next week we talked about keeping our focus in order to get the win. That wins don't happen without being focused. And yeah, I mean, this is what you as the dog show mentor do.
Yeah, it could be that moment of inattention on what's going on with the judge or what's going on in the ring, that moment of inattention that you take away from your dog and how he's set up, how he's paying attention. If you're not paying attention, how do you expect your dog to pay attention?
Mm.
So this is a really good one to review.
That's episode 35, everyone. Put that on your list to go back and watch that show again. Episode 43, we talked about 4 secrets to working smarter, that we all tell ourselves that we're working as hard as we can, and all of us are multitasking all day every day these days. But are we really putting our time, our resources, our attention, our focus where they need to be in order to support our dog and achieve those wins? So that's episode 43. And episode 48, which is the last episode that we're going to review here today, is asking the question, do your dog show buddies celebrate the competition and the community? Lee, you've told us all that we can't do this alone. You've created your community at Dog Show Mentor. Um, and you've reminded us here at Ring Ready Live that we all need our dog show buddies. How important our community is here at Ring Ready Live with you and Dog Show Mentor, but also in class, at the shows, just throughout the week, every week. We all need to be part of our dog show buddy community. And I love that show.
Yeah, it's we all have mentoring moments together, and it's a central theme of mine is that we're always mentoring each other. And because obviously I can't mentor everybody, but we're all helping each other. And when you offer to help somebody who's obviously struggling, wow, that's so powerful. It's powerful them. And they may not say it at the time. Hopefully they will. But if they don't, I'm telling you, it was powerful that you thought enough of them to assist them in some way. And I'll tell you a little story about that. years ago, I was at a show and I was sort of incognito, and I was in a different location than I usually go to. And I was set up all by myself, and the person next to me was set up all by herself. And she didn't know that I was a multi group judge, or she didn't know me at all. And so she started telling me things about, different setup strategies and hair strategies and things like that. And I was so grateful to her for being kind to a stranger. I didn't have the heart to tell her anything about my identity. But later on, she sort of recognized that, and I've always been um, I've always been grateful to her for showing kindness and mentoring someone who she didn't know, and so you know who you are, and thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Lee, for sharing that story. Um, if we pay attention, those little kindnesses are happening all the time. What you just described could have easily been overlooked by those around you, and yet you acknowledged it, as did the person who was offering assistance. And it's so kind of you to acknowledge that person now. And Lee, if I may, I'm thinking of a similar experience that happened for me many, many years ago. I was helping an owner groom their dog, same breed as mine. This dog was handled by a professional, and this dog eventually finished his championship, and that was wonderful. And I was very happy for the owner. But then a few weeks later, I was at a show, and this handler comes up to me. I'd never met him, and he simply said, "Thank you. Thank you for helping the owner groom the dog." And I'll say the handler's name. His name was Michael Zolo. He was at the top of his game in that day. He was just coming off of his Best in Show win with the pointer at Westminster. A gentleman, if there ever was one, and one of the nicest, kindest professionals that I think that our sport has
Absolutely.
ever seen. And he didn't have to do that. He did not have to say thank you, but he did. And I'll tell you what, that was probably the moment when I realized what the word professional really meant,
Right.
because his behavior was exactly that. And but it was the kindness behind that professionalism that has stuck with me. And it wasn't hard for him to say thank you. And I'd like to think that I have been using his example ever since. But it's really easy as part of this community to share what we know, to mentor, as you say, and to be yeah, just to be kind. And I think that we have a very um, thoughtful, intelligent, and kind community here at Ring Ready Live, one that has continually shown support for one another through the comments section. And today, on the anniversary of Ring Ready Live, a lot of you have been commenting and sharing some of your experiences. Thank you for letting us know which shows have resonated with you, which have been the most memorable, which have informed you. And the beautiful thing about this technology is that these programs, these episodes are available to you day and night, 24/7. And some of the conversations that we've had, that we've been talking about today, if they are speaking to you again, I encourage you to go back and watch the shows again. You may hear something that is going to assist you with maybe a difficulty that you're having at the moment in life and with your dog, and or maybe you may be inspired to help somebody else who you know is dealing with something similar. So Um, Lee, I just want to say Lynn is telling us that this community is so supportive. She's made lifelong friends in the fancy and so many people who have helped her, laughed with her, and loved her dogs. I mean, thank you, Lynn. Nothing is better in my book than being surrounded by dog people like ourselves and just really sharing in our shared love of dogs. That's what brings us together here. That's what brings us together at the dog shows and at club meetings, at our training facilities. We love dogs, and yeah, what better community could we be a part of than one that is peopled with dog loving people? So thank you, Lynn, for that comment. Lee, we still have time to play What's the Word, but I know you probably do. You have something that you may want to discuss before we go on and play our favorite game, What's the Word?
No, I want to dive right in because I want to see how many people will get these two terms that we have pulled
All
out.
right. Well, let's get right to it then. What's the word, folks? You should know how to play. I'm going to give you a description or a definition. You're going to tell us what's the word. It may be more than one word, but we're asking what's the word. So this is a good one. What do you call the layback or return of upper arm? Think about that. The layback or return of the upper arm is described this way. And this one's really going to challenge you.
It's a stumper. It's a
Yes,
stumper.
we all know what an upper arm is. We all understand return of upper arm, or I hope we do. It's talked about an awful lot in the sport, often because of the lack of return of upper arm, but this has a unique descriptor. So if you know what the layback or return of upper arm is called, let us know. Liz says shoulder layback. Well, layback is certainly used to describe the shoulder blades, but we're talking about the upper arm, which extends from the point of shoulder down to the elbow.
That's too bad Sandy had to run, but she did have a job interview, so
Well, Sandy has played our game as well as anybody has. And Sandy, we wish you much luck with your interview. Let us know how it goes.
all right. No, nobody else wants to guess. Oh, wow. This is a real stumper. Lynn,
Well,
certainly you would want to. Who
anybody have
else
a
is
guess?
here? Julie. Julie, you don't know?
Don't be intimidated, folks. I have to admit that I also did not know this. Linda has guessed return. Return is, of course, what we're looking for, except there is another descriptor that describes the
I
return.
think we should tell them.
The layback or return of upper arm is referred to as the cutback. Not a common description, but if you go to Gilbert, you are going to find cutback describes the layback or return of upper arm.
If you go to Gilbert every day, your vocabulary in dogs will increase exponentially. Go, have fun, do it. Just read one page, just read one term. Okay,
Yes,
what's the
Lee.
next one?
The next one is the slang for the protrusion of the buttocks behind the base of the tail. This can be seen in the Basenji and the Poodle. So this is a slang term for the protrusion of the buttocks behind the base of the tail. So picture the buttocks extending beyond the set of the tail, the base of the tail, as you would see it on a Basenji or on a Poodle.
And I know you know this. You all know this.
Many
It's
of
a
you have
common term.
and you have breeds that have this. So you've probably been, back at the setup, your dogs have been on the table and it has been discussed. There it
Yes,
is.
Lisa. Yes.
Lisa,
Woohoo.
Lisa Brown, thank you. You are the winner. Lisa, remind us what is your breed? And perhaps that's how you knew. But the shelf is the slang term for the protrusion of the buttocks behind the base of the tail. And this can be seen on the Basenji and the Poodle, on some terrier breeds. There are several breeds where this is a really prized uh, part of the anatomy and one that is not always seen. But if you watch the poodle ring, for example, you're going to spot this. You're going to see on some of those wonderful dogs, you're going to see the shelf. Um, yes, Sarah also is replying and saying that she too thought of the shelf. So Lisa has lotion, and I believe that that breed as well has
Yeah.
a very high set tail, and is is has a shelf as well. So thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Sarah Guest, the Beagle. Thank you, Sarah, for participating. But we have our winner in Lisa Brown. Thank you very much, and thank you all for being here with us today on the anniversary of 1 year as a community here at Ring Ready Live. Lee, if you would have told me when you and I first started to talk and we got together with Alex, our producer, that we would have 52 episodes in the can and have those available for everyone to watch whenever they want to watch them, I would have said, I don't understand what you're talking about. And yet here we are. And I want to thank you. I'd like to take just a moment to thank you for being somebody who has helped me as an owner handler, but also as a dog man. My understanding of the sport has really increased exponentially through our many conversations, getting to know you as a dog show mentor, as a judge, as an owner handler, as a breeder, but also as a fine person who brings all of her best to everything that she does. You know, you've sort of allowed me to step up my game and step into a role that I couldn't have assumed was possible. So, having said that, I would like to once again just encourage everyone who's listening, who's watching us here today, please learn from your mistakes, focus on your dog, be your dog's supporter. You will take up Lee on her offer to mentor you by joining Dog Show Mentor Program. Reach out to Megan, who is always there for you to celebrate your owner handled wins and Ring Ready. You've got at your disposal people and tools uh, that will allow you to achieve all of your goals, to become that support for your dog, to win wins that you've never even imagined. And I want to encourage you to to push yourself a little bit further. You know, stop making excuses, get down to it, do the hard work, reach out to Lee, reach out to Megan, come back to us each week and let us know what's on your mind. Let us know what you'd like us to discuss that maybe we haven't talked about to date. You know, what I've learned, Lee, we're never run out of topics, although sometimes we feel like there may be a dry spell. And then lo and behold, it's another possibility for discussion that presents itself to us.
Yeah.
And
I just want to interrupt you here and say, Dan, I feel the same way about you. I learned so much from you, and um, it's been a great year, and next year is going to be even better. And I am so excited to be part of this team with you. So thank you.
well, thank you, Lee. And
Not as eloquent as you spoke, but yeah.
you know, to that point, I want to say, you know, thank you. Eloquent is, you know, I'm not quite sure that I'm always eloquent, but here's what I want to say. There was a time in my young life where you couldn't get me to speak, period,
All
much
right.
less speak in public, you know. And if you are listening to me and you're that owner handler where you just don't think that you have anything to say or that you're even worthy of the win, um, stop that. You know, today is a new day. We're going to begin a new year here at Ring Ready Live. Anything and everything is possible. You have support, you have your dog show buddies, you have the community here at Ring Ready Live, and you have the dog show mentor, the one and only. She's waiting to hear from you. And if you have been part of the program, if you are part of the program, you understand the value that you're getting. We're just so grateful. You know, this is an exciting time. It's a challenging time to be alive and to be involved in the sport and in a world that is changing from morning to night. And yet we have one another. You know we are here to help you pivot, to help you learn from your mistakes, to help you be better, to help you achieve your goals with your dog. And we are always here to celebrate with you. So I think I'm repeating myself, but I just want to say thank you. This has been a wonderful first year. And as Lee said, I too am looking forward to celebrating a better second year with Lee and with all of you. So until next week, when we kick off year two, um, remember to work hard, work smart, and have fun with your dog always.
And make sure your dog has fun with you. See you in the winner's circle.
Thank you, Lee. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next week. Bye bye.